We're now live.
Oh, okay. Well then.
Last 10 seconds.
Interesting. Hi, people on the internet. One, two, 1, 2. Live.
You've been live. I did not forget to put up that fucking recorder thing. Remember how we switched?
Yeah.
So we actually should sound a little bit better, but look and sound better. This really should have happened like a week or two ago, but
Yeah.
I think it's been 2 weeks now. Oh, it has because we did the double episode.
Yes.
Well, for you, it's been normal episodes to everybody listening, but we did 2 back to back. Let's get into it. One thing I do want to know, we were on this like party brocation thing, very douchey, but very fun.
Hot boy summer.
With our, exactly. Hot boy summer for the old frat guys, a bunch of 30-year-old dudes trying to pretend they're not, and life caught up to us. But the interesting part I wanted to mention, that whole time we're all like, sligging beers and drink responsibly, but we had like 10 to 15 beers a day, at least, drink responsibly. And every time I pissed, it is clear, it's fine. I look hydrated because, like, you have the clear picture. You're like, good. I just pissed before this. All I've had today is like 3 cups of water, a Propel, which is electrolyte water, and then like another cup of water. I've never had more yellow piss. I was like, what is going on? How is this possible?
Probably because you're getting actual nutrients again. Are you back on your vitamin diet?
Yeah, but I took that vitamin at like 8 in the morning. So,
well, there's a lot of extra vitamins in there.
Yeah, I guess. Because I saw that, I was like, am I really like that wicked dehydrated that it's like, well, you might as well just have 10 beers. And I'm like, well, I mean, if that's what the doctor said.
I think it's kind of a myth that if you are dehydrated, your pee is yellow.
I actually found that, yeah, I agree. I think it's when it's like light yellow is what you're supposed to be. Because it means it's like getting rid of like additional stuff. It's when it's like bright yellow. It's like you might be hydrated. You might have excess nutrients and all this shit. And then when it's clear, it's like, it's also kind of like you need something else in there because it's not really supposed to be like direct clear. There's supposed to be some.
I mean, your body also regulates it.
Yeah, so it's just interesting. Anyways, so the peeing game is what we're talking about. No, so I just thought about that, and when I was peeing right before getting ready for this jaunt, episode 60, very exciting.
Hell yeah!
You got what have you done in 60 episodes? Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook,
Reddit.
Some Reddit stuff. YouTube,
Twitch,
the video, audio. It's all fun, very exciting. And we definitely have a very exciting episode today. So this is July 1st we're recording this on. I say that because if it's you're watching a live show on YouTube, obviously you see us happening on July 1st talking right now.
We're about 5
obviously
seconds behind.
It's a holiday weekend, so don't worry, you'll still get the 4th of July drop, which is really July 5th, but a lot of people have off and things like that. So we're not going to miss that, and that's why we're recording now because of the holiday weekend. The other point I'm making this is in the last 48 hours, a ton of information has come out. So, and I'm not talking about Cosby, but fuck that guy. But
yeah.
I almost made a pudding pot joke, but I didn't out of respect. So let's just keep that on the record. That I did not make that joke. But what a game that would be. A video game. Imagine that. That'd be like an NC. Was that adults only? The Cosby game. I mean, someone's gonna like hunt and murder him. He'd pulled the OJ. All right. Anyways.
Yeah.
He's probably gonna die. Like, whatever.
We'll see.
We're vehemently against any of sexual inappropriation misconduct at all. There you go. All right, so now that we covered that, and I still think that game would be funny, but
it would be. That seems very much like an old like Newgrounds kind of game.
Right, that's what I was thinking about. Those old Newgrounds games where you do all this weird stuff. Like Britney Spears does this. Yeah. And you're like, whoa. And it's like, is it kind of porn? Is it kind of not? I don't know. And it's like, but anyways, that was a weird tangent. My point is, so PlayStation has acquired a couple studios. Let's get back to reality. So there's 3 studios. 2 are confirmed by Herman Hulst, who's the director of PlayStation Studios.
Okay.
The 3rd one's not, but it's kind of leaked, so it's most likely going to come out officially. potentially by the time this podcast even drops.
Whole
And if
industry
not-
is getting a little leaky.
Yeah, and if not, like, whatever, that's what the internet said, so blame them. So the first one, we'll just do the official ones first. The first one is House Marquee, which is also probably the biggest name on this. But House Marquee, which is awesome. You may know their name. So basically, their most recent thing is they're the ones who did Returnal, right? Which is the huge new roguelike game that's been pretty awesome. They've been kind of developing a few other things in their past, but Returnal is really their main hit. The one before that was Matterfall, you may have heard of, and I think a lot of people got them put on the map. They've been around for a while, but a lot of people got probably put on the map in 2013 when they made Resogun. You either played it or you definitely heard the name Resogun. So you might not know that game, but if I said Resogun, I bet most people would be like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of that."
Yeah, I haven't played it, but
right. And they also made.
Is that just a shooter? I would
What,
assume.
Resogun? Yeah, yeah. It's a 2013. It's a voxel-based side-scrolling shoot 'em up.
Okay.
It's a lot. It's actually a lot of fun. I played. I mean, this is like almost a decade ago. It was really fun, but they kind of always do like weird, unique takes. With Returnal being one of them. Matterfall is also kind of like that. Next Machina. Their first game, which they've actually remade into better visualizations, is Super Stardust, which also you might have heard of. That went from DOS all the way to PS4.
Excuse me?
Yeah. And another trilogy they ported to PS3 and Xbox 360. They didn't obviously make the original game, but they did make the console version, is the Angry Birds trilogy.
Oh, cool.
And Dead Nation, you might have heard of that. That was another one. I'm not sure if a ton of people played that. I remember playing it way back.
I don't know that one.
It was fun. It was another shoot 'em up, just like it was. I think it was direct to the PlayStation Network. Like it wasn't like on.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's like a zombie apocalypse shoot 'em up game. I mean, that's
just distill it because a lot of games are going for that.
yeah,
so.
yeah. And this is like PS3, so this is like this is like one of the first ones, and then obviously now it just kind of like trills through that.
Yeah. If you don't have a zombie attachment to your game, what are you doing?
Right, exactly. But anyways, my point is they've been around for a while. They've worked with Sony, they worked with Activision, they worked with Ubisoft. So they were never always exclusive Sony products. They did make a few exclusive Sony published games, but also Activision published, Ubisoft published, like I said. So, and actually published a couple games on themselves, being House Marquee publisher, which was Next Machina. But my point is, so they've been around for a while. It's been like 20 plus years. And Returnal obviously is a home run. It's one of the only exclusive on PS5 that is playable right now, and it is incredible. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's that roguelike game which has a 6-hour cycle, which is fucking a pain in the ass, but it's a lot of fun if you can handle that kind of berating. Yeah. If you're a Dark Souls player, it's kind of like good for that. If you like Dark Souls plus roguelike, it's like perfect.
Yeah.
But it's really innovative and really great. So
that's a good way to put it, because
it
does have that kind of like difficulty curve too. That is
right. You can't just jump in if you're
just
a normal like FPS. If you're just like a Call of Duty player, like you're probably gonna fucking hate it.
Yeah.
But like if you give it time, you might really enjoy it. Is my point.
And then on top of that, having roguelike is.
Yeah, roguelike itself is a genre you have to be cool. You're going to die a lot, but then it's going to
you have to roll with the punches.
Different
you can't be a perfectionist because you're not going to get perfection.
Right, and every time you die, something's going to change, or that's how the story evolves. I mean,
which for those that don't know, that's roguelike. Every time you die, something changes, either like the entire level or just where enemies are and stuff like that.
Or certain story points. A door that was locked is unlocked, and a boss that wasn't there is now there. I think Returnal it's like the 6-hour cycle, and I think you have to do 4 to 6 cycles to like fully complete the story.
Okay.
I haven't even got through one, so we'll just call it what it is.
Ratchet and Clank got in the way.
It did. So yeah, exactly. I would have beaten it 17 times by now. That's confirmed.
That's what I expected.
Yeah, confirmed. Did just come back in overtime of Valorant, no big deal. But anyway, so congrats to House Marquee. That's a great pickup. The smaller developer, so this is not like comparing to like Bethesda or whatever, who's developer and like publisher who had a range of studios under them. This is a small targeted thing, acquisition to pick up. They've worked with them for a long time. and they're doing slow acquisitions. That's one thing I do want to mention. This is not like in response to anything Xbox did. Just because they're all happening now, these deals they're not like overnight. It's not like they bought Bethesda and we're like, oh, we got to do these are like a year or 2 years in the making kind of thing. Deals take a while, especially when you're buying an entire company. I'm sure it was dependent on how Returnal did and looked. I don't know that for sure, but I would bet like that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Kind of see how that turns out. So with all that said, I mean, that's fucking awesome. They're a great developer, great smaller developer. Good pickup. And this is kind of what Sony does. They generally pick up smaller developers. They have like Insomniac is probably the largest one.
Okay.
They did, and that's who does like the Spider-Man games. But they kind of do smaller ones and they build them up to like these incredible developers. So I think that's like pretty great. And I think House Marquee being under the actual like PlayStation studio brand, and it's going to, I'm sure, get a little bit of a bump in the AAA department.
They're buying those like penny and dollar stocks and investing in them,
right?
Instead of just waiting for Apple to become a powerhouse and then buying into that.
Right, exactly. Well, I'm sure they have a bigger budget now for their next IP. So that's like, you've proved yourself. Now we're going to give you some runway. It's kind of what I think. And
Find
I think
the talent and give us some legs.
Right. And I think with Returnal, that's kind of like how much runway do you really need? And Returnal was his first AAA game.
Oh, really?
Ever.
There we go.
And it knocked it out. It was commercially successful, and it was critically successful. So it's like, that is the number one. You want it to sell, and you want people to like it.
Yeah.
Or if people don't like it, who fucking cares? You want it to sell. That's pretty much the deal. And they nailed both. So, which is kind of sometimes hard to do with roguelike games. And
it's
granted,
very hard to do with
granted
roguelike
that everybody
games.
has a PS5 as a scalper, apparently. If you look online, it's crazy. Who the fuck's buying these or scalping this? I don't know. I was one of the ones who bought it. I fucking love it. So that's really cool. So that's a great pickup by them. They also got, let me pull it up, Nexia. I want to say it right. Nixes software, Nixxes software. So they're interesting. They're not like House Marquee where there's games you can point to. They basically are a port company. So they port a lot of renditions of the game. And they also do like, they help developers in need kind of thing.
Yeah.
So let me pull up their thing.
I mean,
there's one thing I wanted to mention.
I think it's kind of like a good place to talk about ports, and I think you would definitely know way better than I, like, what goes into that. What systems do they have to account for and carry over, and how many of the original assets can be reused, or is it like every single thing has to be opened, redesigned, or tweaked? Or
no, a lot can be. I mean, it's a lot easier now that they're using the same x86 architecture. That was massive. That Xbox and PlayStation do that. When it was like PS3 and they were using the cell processor, and it was a completely different architecture than anything than PC, Xbox, anything. It was a pain in the ass, but people really liked it because there were certain advantages. But it was also a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah.
With PS4 and the same with PS5 and Xbox One and Xbox Series X. Then with the x86 architecture, which is what computers are based off of as well. And now ports are as easy as they've ever been. It's not that it's like click a button, we just did it. There's still issues you're going to have. You're also going to have specific bugs going to each one. I mean, PlayStation 5 SSD is going to come into play. Xbox's graphics card is going to come into play, so you might have to throttle things differently to properly suit those needs.
Interesting. Like, it might overclock some stuff that you don't want it to be.
Right, because you might have some interesting race conditions. Be like, oh, fuck, I wasn't expecting the SSD to be this fast, or I wasn't expecting the assets to render at this level quickly. So now we have to put additional logic in to handle race conditions. I would bet it's mainly race conditions now that they're playing in the same architecture playground. But there could be certain rendering like codecs that one uses and the other doesn't use. I don't know specifically, like how like on video, like the AC1 codec is like the open source 4K, but then there's closed source ones that like Apple uses, but Google uses AC1. Netflix kind of lets you do both, but Apple products generally don't let you use AC1. So and PS4 actually doesn't either. I think PS5 does. My point being, it's small stuff like that where it's like visually it looks the same,
yeah,
but the way they are rendering that could be different. per port.
Yeah.
A lot of it is kind of streamlined because they want everybody to get as many games as possible, and making third-party games possible because those are obviously ported across the board. And if we're going to have crossplay, you pretty much want everything to be as standardized as possible so everything plays the exact same way on any platform. And I would bet most third-party games are like, it's the same code base. It's just the release delivery is like the only different part. How they publish to the digital store.
Okay.
But there are certain things like the race conditions could certainly come into play, and that's Xbox's graphics card and Sony's SSD, the RAM differences, things like that. And then with PC, the good thing about ports is they've handled a lot of those use cases since they're x86 on PC, because every PC is very different.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, all right, let's make it agnostic to this. So then they're more just kind of getting outliers or edge cases to handle, like, well, this is like crazy and it's only happening on PS5.
Gotcha.
Or like this is only happening in series. So they might have to do a couple things like that. And that's why some games will come out and be like, oh, we have the 60 frame per second thing on PS5, but it's not on Xbox yet because we don't have this, or vice versa. And that's why when you play on both, like, sometimes the frame rates aren't exactly the same because the hardware is slightly different, and so is the software sometimes. But
so do you think Nix's is going to just port a lot of new games for PlayStation, or are they actually going to be like making their own stuff?
So I don't think they're going to make anything. I think it's porting, and I think it's also for their second part. So they're technical engineers, which is kind of like, think of it like the problem solver. They're like all solutions architects. So just to end the port thing, they have ported successfully Marvel's Avengers, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. All great games.
Hell yeah.
Avengers is actually a really great game now. Like I said, it would take a year and a half. Now it's actually a game worth playing. So if you haven't played it yet, get it on a discount, play it. You'll actually enjoy it. The Tomb Raider games are fucking awesome. So it's cool that they help with those ports. And Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, I fucking love. But the other part they do is like technical solutions, which is basically like if I'm trying to see if they have. I couldn't find on their website like any examples of this, but basically what they do is they say they specialize in video game design, development, and porting. But it's and porting. The key is video game design and development. So basically, if there's a studio that's having a deadline that they don't think they're going to hit, they're having serious issues meeting the goals, they might hire Nix's.
That's like their freaking go team.
Right. They're like, fuck, we need to make sure we hit this deadline. Like, what to the cost doesn't matter, whatever. We're going to hire Nix's to help jump in, and they'll be able to pick up the code base, understand it quickly, and then streamline us to how to solve these problems, because they've been doing it for like 25 years or whatever. Yeah. So it's kind of like, they're kind of problem solvers. They're kind of like, hey, I don't know this game specifically, but I know this general situation. Yeah. And I can figure out a solution because I'm an expert in
I know that
C++
these things
and this
tie
engine.
together and that we could just pin them up.
Right. I'm an expert in this Snowdrop engine or whatever the fuck. And it's like, I know how we can do this here because I did this on 15 other games. Yeah. So they're kind of more of that. So that's what I actually think is really interesting. So I think there's going to be I think they're going to use them for porting a shitload of PS5 games to PC, because we see that already with like Death Stranding. I think Last of Us is probably going to come, but we know Horizon Zero Dawn did. Yep. God of War maybe. I could see them porting a lot of the internal studio games to PC and helping streamline that to get that happening a little faster, so they can help get some of the PC market, because I think they are going to release something. I think they are going to update PlayStation Now.
Okay.
Which is technically the competitor of Game Pass. It just doesn't get a lot of the first-party games. It has a fuckload of third-party games, but it doesn't get a lot of the big for day one first-party games. I think they're trying to up that, and to do that and creating like a PC component similar to how Xbox is, where it's kind of traversed from each of those.
Yep.
So I think that's what they're going to kind of do. And then I also think it's very interesting because they're all obviously very smart people, to bring them in on their first party studios, being like, hey, this is our in-house solutions team. Now, a lot of these developers, like Santa Monica Studios, for example, God of War, all really smart people, great fucking developers. So I'm not saying they're not smart to handle solutions or problems. But my point is sometimes you need a third-party person to come in that's not so scoped in.
Yeah.
They can see everything. They're like, look, just try this. I know you've been banging your fucking head against the wall. Do you want to keep banging against the wall, or just try what I'm saying? So I think, and that was just an example, but I think that's very interesting. So they're basically going to be like in-house consultants, I think, as well.
Okay.
So they mentioned porting a lot, but I think they're also going to be kind of like in-house consultants that can really help, if not speed up delivery times, ensure like successful deliveries. So you don't have a Cyberpunk, for example, which, you know, as we know, is back on the PlayStation Store and stable and stuff. And it is a really fun game, but so you don't have situations like that to kind of help ensure that, or they can be the third party auditor to be like, they can't hit this deadline. Like I know they need to do this, but you need to give them more time. And that might also help some of the management teams as well. So I think that's all, I think it's all kind of there. So I think it's not just porting. I don't think it's just porting. I think it's that. And I think a lot of people probably wouldn't see that part unless they're like kind of like I've read through a lot of this stuff, and that's what it kind of reads like to me. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And to me, that's very interesting because so this is not like a sexy purchase, right? It's like, you're like, oh, Nix's is coming. What games are they bringing? It's like none. Like they've ported a fuckload of games, like I just mentioned, but they didn't like they weren't the lead developer.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. There's stuff like that in every other industry where you have like people that work with your dev teams and your sales teams and stuff like that. And I think that a lot of game companies had like that startup kind of origin. So the people that were doing the sales were devs that already knew the part. And now that it's getting to like this giant industry, you're going to need more of those people to come in and kind of translate what each other's saying to the other person. Because, I mean, shit, half the stuff you were talking about porting, I don't know that language. Like, you can speak to me in it and you can say yes, no, maybe. But unless you have someone that knows what they're talking about as, like, the intermediary saying, like, that guy's bullshit and he can do it in a day, or, no, this is actually going to take a month.
Right.
Is important.
Right, exactly. And also it's important that if he thinks he can do it and he does get stuck and he just needs help.
Yeah.
And for record, like we'll still look on like text. You still Google some of these answers when your head's stuck in a wall, no one knows. But this is just adding more knowledge base. Be like, look, I don't know your project, but I know this fucking engine. I have ported 20 games on this engine. I know it. I've handled bugs because I had to deliver them to Xbox, PC, PlayStation. So they might see things like, here's a quick solution to handle this memory management problem. Here's a quick solution to handle this race condition. This weird else statement, like what anything it is, they most likely can help in those scenarios. Yeah, that can significantly help either keep production on track or even speed it up. So I think that and give you a better game that's less buggy in the beginning. It's not honestly fucking Bethesda should hire these people. Like they have a notorious issue with bugs, but and that's not a shot at Xbox. I would say that if Sony hired them, it's just that is a well-known thing. They call them Bugthesda for a reason. Great games, but they do release with a fuckload of bugs, or they just have a crazy percentage of acceptance criteria.
That makes a lot of sense too. Like especially like people that might be stronger creatively. Like that's what I deal with at work. Where I mean, everyone's a good editor, but once you get into After Effects, there's some weird shit in there. You have expressions, which is like the closest thing to coding that I'll ever get to. Okay. But you're just like building all these animations and graphics and stuff like that, and half the time I don't even know the answer per se. I just have a really good Rolodex of like explainer videos that I can go to and send people like, oh, this is how you do like some weird reverse image mask and ship it off. And that's
the same thing. Like when at work, if they have like questions, I'm like, oh, how do we do multi-threading in this? I'm like, well, you can use like the future get class if you're using Java, or just make sure it's synchronized, or just here's a fucking Stack Overflow thread, or here's a fucking YouTube video of someone explaining.
It's the mechanic that has that weird tool that can get behind the tire and release this pin without like blowtorching something.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't know that. But yeah, so I think that's a pretty interesting pickup of them. All right, so those are the official releases. So that's what Sony has come out and be like, we bought these guys. Oh, there is a leak of a third one, which it will be kind of more on the House Marquee side, which is for Blue Point. I always say print. It's Blue Point games. So they are similar to some of the other people, kind of like House Marquee, where they're smaller. So it's, again, this is leaked, but it feels like it's going to drop at some point. Like and it makes a fuckload of sense in the same way House Marquee did. So these are the guys most notably known for, they did the remake of the fantastic remake behind Shadow Colossus.
Oh, nice.
And they did the PS5 exclusive Demon's Souls remake, which was exceptional as well. They're not from software, right? So they didn't make Demon's Souls.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't make, was it Ico, Team Ico? They didn't make Shadow of the Colossus, but they did the remakes of them, which were ground up remakes. They weren't just remasters updating the asset. They had to build them up. So they can clearly handle that. So they're very good at remakes.
I think that's bigger news than an exclusive porter.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's almost on the same line as that. So these seem like very strategic. Again, this one's not official yet, but it does kind of line up.
Yeah.
If you log into their website, literally the first thing you see is a Sony logo.
All right.
And there's a video that says PlayStation Studios Blue Point Games. That's
yeah.
At least when I just said that. Now, granted, it's turning on trailers for their games, but I mean,
there's definitely
if that's like, I mean, it's kind of like, all right, we're preparing to get this to tell us. So like, they also did the Uncharted collection, all those the Uncharted 1, 2, and 3 remake.
Nice.
They did. That was them. Like, so they're very good at, like doing these updates. There's an indie game called Flower. They might have heard they did. Most are like ports or upgrades of Flower. They did the port for Titanfall.
Okay.
Gravity Rush was another remaster they did. They God of War collection. They did that remaster. So a PlayStation, and they ported PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale and the Metal Gear Solid HD collection. Yeah. So they're very good with ports. They've worked basically all their ports are almost all Sony, and then the other ones are Konami and EA. But out of like 12 games, 10 are like Sony.
Yeah. All right. So
it makes sense.
I could take a crack at explaining it, but I feel like you'd be better at it.
Go for it.
There's a lot of different overlap between a port and a remaster. Where do you think the biggest differences are between those two? Because you're obviously taking something from one thing and repackaging it, repurposing it for another thing.
Right. So a remaster is it's going to get like updated visuals, maybe better refresh rate, like FPS updates, things like that. There are ports that are remasters, but a general port just means the game that you're playing on platform X, you can now play on platform Y, and it looks and operates the exact same. The remaster is that game you're playing on platform X, you can buy again on platform X or potentially another platform, because it could be a remaster that is ported.
Yeah.
But now it's an HD, because like let's say it came out a while ago, or it's a 4K.
Okay.
And that's it. But we didn't build the game ground up. Like we didn't build it from nothing. Then you have the remake, which is where we just did the full development cycle of this game again.
Word.
Kind of like Resident Evil 2.
Yeah. So the easiest remaster you can do is just opening up your assets pack, adding more polygons, adding more detail, keeping your same animations, your same environments for the most part, just updating the actual textures and assets.
Yeah, maybe including the DLC in it or something. Like sometimes they do that.
Word. But then like you can go above and beyond, which
and remake
is like you're adding levels, you're adding characters, you're adding
you could
extra
add a whole new
weapons
story elements, maybe tweak some things you think didn't go well the first time. I mean, Resident Evil 2
is
a good example. It went to a full modern day like shooter over the shoulder mechanic, right?
Yep.
That we saw in like Resident Evil 4. The original game was fixed camera, like you're scrolling, and now the Resident Evil 2 remake is a full, like you have the full like 3D mobility that you do in like over the shoulder games like Resident Evil 4. So I mean that is a massive, with a free crosshair where instead of the fixed, you aim down, aim middle, aim high.
Yeah. And then you have
and
like
not fixed camera. So
your Final Fantasies, which are
right. So another one, Final Fantasy VII remake. It's like, I mean, that's you can. They didn't just update the visuals. The whole game had to get
redone.
So like, because like when the remakes, you generally update the engine, the mechanics or movement mechanics become modern. If it was like 20 years ago, so like I talked about Resident Evil, Final Fantasy, the movements updated, the fighting's updated. It's all very
Yeah, you're having your like mocap people come in doing their stuff. You're
you're basically making a new
scenes,
game that just happens to already be
you
scripted.
have a skeleton, but you are putting all the beef back on that.
Yeah, and sometimes they do. It could just be 1-to-1, like the exact same game story wise. But they generally do tweak it or maybe add some of the DLC in it, so as part of just the standard narrative, because they're like, that makes sense.
Don't package it in weird little areas of the menu, like just it's part of the game now.
They fix like what people bitch about for 20 years, and they're like, all right, we'll correct that a little bit. But generally, it's kind of like, let's just give this to you new for the fans.
Yeah.
But it's not a reboot.
Yeah.
Which would be like the Star Trek movie, where it's like we're same character. None of them have done this situation before.
Yeah. I was actually a little disappointed in
what Dead Space might be.
Yeah. I was a little disappointed in Mario All-Stars 3D with the Mario 64, where I was hoping that they were going to polish some of it.
I think that was just a remaster. I think they just updated the visuals, and they're like, right, that's fine.
I don't even know if they did update the visuals that much. It was very much like still felt the same amount of polygons and like.
But they were like, you can play it on the modern system, pretty much. Yeah.
Yep. And even like some of the movement bugs were still in there.
It had to be done in HD.
Yes.
But yeah, to a small amount. Exactly. Like that's just a standard remaster. That's a great example of it. Then the remake is this thing feels like it was made for the Switch.
Yeah.
Like because it was. So that, and then ports are just like, I'm now playing Titanfall on Xbox or PlayStation or PC, but it's all this, like I look at all, it's pretty much 100% the same game.
Yep.
That's kind of the update with that. Then you have the ones that are kind of like remaster-ish ports, like Death Stranding and Horizon Zero Dawn, when they ported the PC, because they added like, we have 60 frames per second mode and stuff like that. They added a couple additional things to it that didn't exist on the previous one.
Yeah.
Because PlayStation 4 couldn't do that. Like it didn't have the ability. So they updated it to look better and have a stuff like that. So it's kind of like a remaster port.
Okay.
I would say. Word. But so they're very interesting because they've done some ports, obviously, and a ton of remasters and a couple remakes. The remakes being, so they've done a few remasters. Like I said, the Metal Gear Solid HD collection, that was just kind of a simple remaster. I mean, not simple, but standard. But then they started doing like remakes. Like Shadow Colossus was a full remake. Demon Souls was a full ground up remake. And they're both incredible. And I think that is important because it kind of shows like we can like develop a game, and it's like, all right, we know you can develop it fully end to end with a blueprint. So this could also be something that maybe internally they're like, all right, we trust you. You now are allowed to have access to our internal IP. People have been wanting, I don't know, like Siphon Filter or some shit like that if they own that, and it's like from 1999. They're like remaster or remake Siphon Filter.
Yeah,
like
Sly.
Right, yeah, Sly Cooper. Yeah, so I think like stuff like that, like they might be on that, or they could get their own AAA title themselves, kind of like House Marquee, but I'm not sure that makes a lot of sense. I think this is going to be like, hey guys, if you want to remake any of like your things, put in this bucket.
we'll draw it out of a hat.
Blue Point, and whatever thing's going to sell more, Blue Point's list is bang, bang, bang. And if we're going to hire the Blue Point, we're going to expand them, and then we just have a remake team. That just remakes our shit, so then we can get those, right? So it kind of puts less strain on the initial developer because they're like, all right, you work on the new IP. Like your whole team is now on God of War 2.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the other ones. We're remaking it with this team. And we have our whole blueprint. You guys can oversee production, but to approve like QA and things.
Yeah.
But all the development, daily development, don't worry about it. We're not putting any of your engineers on it. You guys go do the new IP. And I think that might be, because it might streamline some of these other studios. Now, they could be getting their own thing because they might have good story ideas, and they've proven they can do like the remakes, so maybe let them prove they have story ideas too. And I'm not saying they don't.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, to me,
and I mean,
it almost seems like just pump it through, just like Nix has done. Like this seems very aligned to Nix's.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we can handle ports, we can handle technical help. These guys are like, we've done ports, but we can really do a shitload of remasters, remakes for you.
Yeah. There are people in Hollywood too that like to the story points element. There are people in Hollywood that are just script fixers. they don't write their own scripts. They just come in and they're like tear it apart. They're like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. This is how you fix this is how you fix this, and this is how you fix that. It's going to be a better story. The characters are more cohesive. Don't ask me to write my own thing because I'm not sure.
Right, I don't have the idea, but I can do the editing very well.
Yeah. Yep.
They're kind of like a book editor at the book publisher.
Yeah. I also think it's very interesting going back to like Xbox, Bethesda, and what Sony's doing. You were saying that it's not like a tit for tat, but they're definitely kind of like poising themselves differently, which I think is interesting because Microsoft seems to do kind of the opposite play when they're looking at like some of their smaller apps that they're incorporating into Windows. Like they buy these smaller things and then really build them out, where in like the game industry, it seems like they're going after some of the big fish and like really adding a lot of...
Right. Well, I think that kind of speaks to where they were.
Yeah.
So PlayStation has always had the games. That's the thing. The argument was Xbox might have better graphics card compared to, a Series X, PS5, they're fucking equivalent. I don't care which one you like better. Hardware standpoint, they're equivalent, period. Like, some things are better in one, some things are better in another. The games are going to play pretty much exactly the same on both.
Yeah.
But the thing that Sony could always say, right, and everybody knows the line, is Sony has the games. Xbox has no exclusives. Xbox has no exclusives. Xbox has no exclusives. Now they fucking do. They got Bethesda, which is a fucking ball drop, right?
Yeah.
I mean, talk about putting your nutsack on the table. I mean, they're like Starfall, probably Skyrim, not Skyrim, but the Outer Scrolls 6.
Yeah.
All these huge games are going to be most likely, if not timed exclusives, full exclusives. To them, to the ecosystem, because obviously they're coming to the PC as well.
Yeah.
But that is because they were missing that, right? So they're just like, let's just get to the race. Let's just get to the race because we're not even there yet. We're not in like AAA. We're in AA.
Yeah.
They're now in the majors. Like they are, like now it's kind of getting to a point where it's like negligible. It's like, all right, you had Halo and Forza, and Gears. It's like you guys have 3 games. That's it.
Yeah.
And now it's like we have like this whole collection of shit, which is awesome. And it's like,
was Mass Effect?
now you can kind of compare. No.
Okay.
Now you can kind of compare. That's under EA. Now you can kind of compare them to each other. But well, they both kind of have the games now, so you kind of can't say that. And it's like, all right. But since Sony didn't have to go get a bunch of new studios, they're like, we need 40 new exclusives. Like they have like their president said they have 26 like unannounced exclusives. Like they have games coming because they have a ton of these in-house developers already for like a decade, for years.
Yeah.
So they're not playing catch up in that sense. But I think they're thinking even further ahead. They're like, look, we have the market share, we have the hold. What people are really starting to want now is we need to build up fan bases for our older games that not everybody got to play.
Yep.
And now it's like, let's get our internal tech debt taken care of. Nix has helped with that. Let's port some shit to PC. Let's get that market. Help them with technical leadership if they need some solutions experts on stuff. Now let's get Bluepoint. Again, not official, but it sounds like it probably will be soon. We can trust them with our remasters and remakes. Now they're in-house. They can have access to open access to our IP. We can start pumping out some older games like Siphon Filter. I keep using Siphon Filter because it's an older game that I really want somebody to fucking remake. I don't know if they own it. I actually think they do.
Okay.
But anyways, so like let's pump up Siphon Filter. Meanwhile, that comes out, remake, people get pumped. Santa Monica Studios is making Siphon Filter 7 or whatever the fuck, or like 4.
It basically becomes a playable trailer.
Right. So people are playing the remaster and like, fuck, I want a new one. And they're like, bang, comes out next year. Like they're kind of getting the thing. They're like marveling it, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like we're getting you like, let's get them hooked, get the whole new fan base hooked. Did that get a lot of bites? Great. Drop that. We're doing the next one because we're ready to fucking go. And then it's like, yeah, we can create new IP. It's like, yeah, you guys can still do that because we have enough studios who can push new IP. But some of the other studios are like, well, we do have old IP. And it could be that they're like, give it to some of these other guys too. So I think that's a big part of it. I think they're like, let's get our older shit when Sony dominated from the 90s. Like, where the fuck is Twisted Metal?
Yeah.
Where is Twisted Metal?
Yep.
That is a Sony exclusive that hasn't existed for like 2 decades. I think it was like 2007 was Twisted Metal Black.
I think that's the thing too, is like we kind of are in that sweet spot where like
we remember.
We have the PS1, we had like everything coming up. But like it is now a generational thing. you have people that were too young to like even hold a controller, now fully functioning adults that are paying for their own place, their own games, their own systems.
Right. And they don't know the fuck Siphon Filter or Twisted Metal is.
Yeah.
And it's like, Siphon Filter started that whole, Tom Clancy Splinter Cell genre. It kind of created that. So it's like, whereas one of the real, but Twisted Metal is like a great one. That's like, imagine that they remake Twisted Metal and they're like, by the way, the new ones, like you will.
They tried to make that game that felt a little like it.
They made a couple, and it's kind of like, I don't know, but, and it could just be tip your toes in the water, see the fan engagement from these things too. Don't waste like a full studio's time. Be like, use the guys who we have. These are in-house remake guys.
Yeah,
they don't do anything but just fucking turn out remakes. And we have 200 in the backlog.
Yeah,
so they got work. They're happy. Boom.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool because Microsoft doesn't really have that.
Yeah.
If they want to do that, they have to use internal teams to do that.
Yeah.
Or buy consultants to do it, right? So I think this is very interesting. I don't think they're trying to. And also, these are clearly hyper target. Like it seemed like Microsoft wanted to make a big splash. Get Bethesda, let's get a fuckload of games now. And it seemed like a high price, worth it, but it's like 7.8 billion. But it seemed like they knew they were behind, and it seemed very obvious. And it was like, you clearly seem like frustrated you don't have the games, and that was clearly what that move is, like, which is fine because they were, and now it got
like
them
what
in
Facebook
the game.
does. It's like Facebook
they just
came out
Instagram
as a powerhouse, and then they kind of like started to fade a little bit, bought Instagram, then they just like keep making these acquisitions that are huge chunks
like
of
Oculus,
the market share.
they just buy so where Sony is, so like they had to do that, where Sony, it seems very more focused. Like this, like if you want to think about it in like military, this is like Microsoft is carpet bombing. They're just buying a massive thing to make a massive dent and do this.
I would say
and Sony is like a sniper where they're like, I'm picking my shot and taking small, so I'm gonna like
AC-130 just circling, picking off fits.
Right. Or like even, I guess more even focus. It's like one is like they're just berating you with gunfire, killing you, and then Sony's doing death by 1,000 cuts. They're just doing tiny moves that seem like nothing. Like I would guarantee the comments on Twitter are like, Nixus, who the fuck is that? All the Xboxers are like, we got Bethesda. And it's like, I don't think you guys see the larger picture. And I would be saying the same thing if Microsoft did this too, by the way. I think this is a very interesting focused tactic. Granted, doesn't mean this is right and Xbox is wrong. Doesn't mean Xbox is right and they're wrong. It's just two different ways of doing the thing.
And it's what each of those
people need. But I think
it's
clear that Sony, like Xbox, I don't know. I know their big plan is Xbox ecosystem, get it to everything.
Yeah.
Sony clearly has an overarching plan. I, to be honest, do not know what that is. I think it's to continue their in-house teams because they don't want to move from the console. They don't want to move from this. And I think they're doing an interesting thing of keeping that because they know they own the market share and they're being very like focused with it. So leading into that, these are, they haven't released the numbers. Like it's not like Nexus cost $7 billion. Like it wasn't like it. These are not these kind of purchases, right? They're smaller, still worthwhile. Everybody there, they're listening. Great job on the sale. I'm sure everybody's partying. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But they're very focused. They're smaller sales to work out over time and do specific things that will build up over time. And now, obviously,
it'll also be interesting to see if their leaders are cashing out or if they're staying on board to.
I would bet they all stay on. I think this is something they've known for a while.
Yeah,
but this doesn't seem like a cash out move. But the one thing I was like, so obviously these are small things, but they still cost money. And luckily, they're charging the indie devs $25,000 a pop. So they can just buy this with indie dev thing. All right, so that's obviously a joke, but to talk about that, Kotaku, Forbes, anybody that writes about games wrote about this article today.
Yep.
There was a massive part of this article that I don't get what the Sony bashing is happening. Like if they deserved it, I'd be like, yeah. This $25,000 to indie game devs, yes, it sucks. So basically, it's
pay to play for developers instead of players.
Kind of, but not really. So I don't think a lot of people read these articles. I think they just read the headline, and that's kind of what they do because they knew if I make this headline, console war fanboys are going to explode. People are going to run with it, which is exactly what happened, and we get a ton of traffic. That's what happened. It's clickbait.
So what was the original article?
Well, the original article is from Kotaku, not Forbes, which Forbes left out a massive piece of information. So basically, the whole thing was from this this guy who's a British developer and publisher, Gardner, who's like, if he talks about Platform X.
He develops, he publishes, he gardens.
He talked about Platform X. He also never confirmed it was Sony. It's just like heavily hinted, and it most likely is. But if Platform X doesn't like your game, no fanfare, no feature, no love. You have to jump through a shitload of hoops. They put all the hoops there. You have to like fill out, like make a trailer. Yep, specific for that console. You have to send like 4 things to the marketing team. You have to do all this shit, which is like, I don't know if you've ever done any promotional stuff. That would all be done by anybody.
Yeah, but if you're not doing it, they're
like, you have to write a blog for their site, submit multiple forms for social media, specific trailer for the platform. Then you spread over 3 generations of back-end software for their compliance check, because they have all this stuff that if you're going to port or anything, that's like PS3, PS4, PS5.
Yeah,
I'm sure these are older libraries they've built up to be like, can we support this XYZ and ton of compliance. That's kind of like a security audit. Those things are a bitch, and sometimes, but generally when you do them, they're like, that's okay. This is not relevant. This is not relevant. This is not relevant. And if you fail some of them, it's still fine, depending on what your thing is doing and what they are specifically failing, and also the location of that object. I would assume that's similar, but it's still like, that is a bitch. But guess what? Everybody's going to do that.
Yeah.
So he talks about all this. It's heavily hinted that Sony, and it like sounds like it definitely is. They basically got 2 other verified sources. Kotaku confirmed, which how they confirmed it was Sony. And it's basically like, you can bypass. So then if you do all that, right? So you do the trailer, you do the blog, you do the multiple form for social media, and you pass 3 generations of background software, then you can get a discount from the console's owner's approval, which is incredibly limited apparently, to get shown on like the indie games, or to have your stuff show up when you turn on PlayStation Store. Bang! It's whatever the Returnal.
Yeah, it's your top.
It's very
8,
limited.
Like,
it's very limited. So then the thing is, well, you can bypass all this for $25,000, which everybody's like, what the fuck? That's crazy. These are indie game developers. They don't have $25,000 and stuff. How are you gonna do this? There's, and then they take 30% of earnings. 30% of earnings from that game goes to the platform holder. Yeah. So if you're going to get 70%, they're going to get 30. Here's the thing. That's any platform, in which the thing that's left out in this is that Kotaku had in, that Forbes and other people left out is, and I quote, "We're also told that Microsoft runs a similar payment schemes for the Xbox Store. Of course, for big publishers, it's just another $1 million marketing spreadsheet." The key line of that is that Microsoft also offers a similar payment schemes for Xbox. They also have a $25,000, or maybe it's $20,000, right? Yeah. Or maybe it's $30,000. We don't know. But they have a similar payment schedule for their indie dev. And it's because you have to pay to play. You have to pay to get on the platform they're hosting, which is the 30% fee. And then if you want to get featured, do that. Ironically, Kotaku itself, if you want to be an indie game developer featured on Kotaku, costs $25,000. So, which this person released emails on Twitter trying to get the thing, and had the actual, and it was like confirm the Kotaku emails being like, it costs $25,000. Then we have other advertising things that are cheaper, like $10,000.
Yeah.
But one of them was $25,000, and it's like, all right, so what the fuck are we talking about? This is something I think people immediately jump to this because it sounds like a lot of money, and you're like, you're an indie developer, just put me on the store. And it's like, that sounds great. I realized I wasn't wearing my headphones this whole time, but I'm assuming everybody can hear me. But
everyone can hear you.
But it's like, so it's like, you, it's just like, it makes no sense because everybody's doing this. So I do not get why Sony's getting blasted, because they confirm Platform X is Sony in this situation. However, they also say, we're also told that Microsoft did it. So why don't you run down your sources on indie devs for Microsoft to say the same fucking thing? This is clearly like to berate or bash Sony.
You think it's a hit piece?
It is a hit piece.
Yeah.
I just don't get why. And I don't get why Forbes left out that note.
That's what I don't get.
Or decided to run it down because like, oh, that Forbes guy like can't ask about, like, if you want to do this, you're either going to be biased or non-biased, and that's to your discretion, right? But for me, if I want to be an accredited news source, like Forbes, for example, right? Generally like financial news and things like that, but still business. Sony's a business, Microsoft's a business. I would say, I'm releasing this article. There is 100% certainty it is going to bash the fuck out of Sony, hurt their market share, and cause a bunch of console war bullshit. If you're writing this, you have to know some basic understanding of the video game network. It's going to do that. My number one thing would be like, does Xbox do anything? Why do consoles charge indie game developers this much? This is not a fucking Sony problem, is my point. It is a console platform fucking problem. It probably...
it's
Steam
an everything problem.
Well,
you
Steam
go to
doesn't do
Hollywood
this.
with a movie,
right?
And they're like, you need movie posters, you need trailers, you need your actors
insane.
to show up for like certain readings.
That's fucking
and stuff.
insane that he's mad about. Oh, I got to write a blog post. Really? You've got to write something about your fucking game you made? You should be happy. I would love to write a blog post.
Absolutely.
I got to create a trailer. What? You're trying to sell your fucking game? Like, what are you mad about? Like, because
and everyone who's gone through
PlayStation?
any kind of like indie game store thing, and you click on a game that doesn't have a trailer, not going to buy it. Like, they are helping you.
I see a couple screenshots. I'm like, oh, fuck that, dude. I want to like see some of the story, and I want to see actual gameplay, not in a screenshot. I want to see it happening.
Absolutely.
See how fluid this shit looks. I will say,
and it is the easiest thing to make a trailer. If you're doing like an app development or something like that, and you need to have extra like BS done in there.
They're not saying port it specifically
some CG
to
and shit. Like, all you need for a trailer for a game is show gameplay. That's it.
Right, and it's like when you, by the way, when you publish an app to the App Store, like I am. You go through the same checks and balances of compliance checks to make sure you're playing in their sandbox, using everything they said.
Yeah. Apple App Store, you can't show the phone. You can only show like the outline of the screen.
Right.
I got kickbacks like 8 times just for a video, not even like the app itself, but the video that goes along with it.
And then the app itself, they do all these. It's not 3 generations of compliance checks because technically they've had 12 generations if you want to consider each generation a new device because that's their phone. They're on iOS 14. But point being, every fucking software system has this. You develop the game for Sony. You fucking know they're going to do this. And also, part of your development, I'm not mad. Any developers also, I don't want to seem like I'm coming at them. I'm just saying, this should not have been a surprise to anybody. Because you're like, when I'm going to release my game, it is going to get grilled by their... If Sony's going to release it, they want to make sure they're releasing something that doesn't have rootkits in it, doesn't have any kind of weird shit that's going to fuck with people's consoles, fuck with their financials, make sure it's tight, and it complies to everything they have. It's just the way it works. Xbox does the same fucking thing. Steam's going to do the same thing. Apple does the same. The only thing I'll say is Steam probably doesn't have this $25,000 fee. It's probably really cheap if it exists at all.
I mean,
like I would bet Steam, that's the one that's like the digital playground. But if you want to get shown off on Steam, I bet that you still do pay to be on like the main the main J carousel. Now, don't have that confirmed, but I would bet that's true.
Yeah, or like one of like the developer picks or whatever.
Right, like that kind of stuff you pay to get acknowledged. It's just like when you want to advertise. If I wanted to advertise this podcast, right? We're doing word of mouth right now because I want people to know where do they go. I'm not paying to get on Apple and stuff like that, but if we started selling ads through that, I'm sure we get charged something.
Yeah,
but if I want to. Everybody to know.
Yeah, I can't just
Apple
go to
Podcast.
Spotify and be like, why am I not getting put up there with Joe Rogan?
Why aren't we able to Joe Rogan and call her daddy? What the fuck? Yeah. We should be. And it's like, yeah, and if you want to be that, Spotify's going to be like, yeah, give me 25. Like, they're going to tell me the same shit.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I don't know if you're doing that for me. Like, this might be worked into Santa Monica Studios while we publish them, so we'll cover it for them. Like, it's still worked into that price. They're a multi-billion-dollar AAA company. They can obviously handle it. Now, should this be cheaper for indie devs, more like $5,000? Yeah, I agree. What goes into that $25,000? I have no fucking idea. I'm sure there's some agreement. If it's just a rip-off indie devs, that's fucked up, and I'm obviously against it. But the thing is, Xbox is doing the same fucking thing. It's a constant thing. If you want to defend indie developers, stop defending them from Sony, who has supported indie game developers longer than anybody, and start supporting, let's stop fucking over them from the console platform initiative. Or, to be honest, let them pay the $25,000. Hell, make it fucking $30,000 and then make their earnings 15% so they get 85% on the back end as opposed to 70.
Yeah.
That one-time fee is like getting a bonus at work. That's great, but if you get a fucking 15% raise, it is going to pay dividends in the long run. If I can get 85% of earnings as opposed to 70 and I'm paying 30, I'll pay 35 grand one time. It sucks initially. Sell a couple of games, it sells well. Bang, I'm on the front page because I paid my dues. Boom. I mean, there's definitely ways. Now, I get it's like a standard thing. That's more what fucked up to me. But the fact that this is a surprise and the guy was bitching about a blog post, submit multiple forms of social media. Multiple. What does that mean? What do you mean multiple? Like, oh, you had to fill like a bunch of questionnaires for the social media team so they can promote you on Twitter, Instagram, fucking Snapchat, YouTube. Oh, they're gonna make all this
a picture to Instagram. I have to make 140 character posts.
It's probably like
Twitter.
Descriptions about your studio, your team, some interesting things
You're
about
exhausted.
the gameplay.
You just made a awesome game. Like
there's one of you, might be 4 of you. You're all like, dude, we've been working 100 hours a week for a year, 2 years. This is my life.
Yeah.
I don't have time to write all this paperwork. I get it, but the thing is, you just have to do it. And honestly, you'll be happy for it in the long run, because if you have to go through this process again, you have all that shit to fall back on. You're like, just grab that, pull up Word, switch this, copy paste, change that. Great, we're done.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much it. And the specific trailer, just make a generic fucking trailer and then put the fucking Sony logo on it. But you make a generic trailer, put the Xbox logo on it. Make a generic trailer, put the PC logo. There's no PC logo, but like, you know, like, it's fucking nuts. And I am very supportive of indie developers, and I realize this is sounding like I'm just like annoyed that like you have to do more work even if it's outside of the game. And if that's that big of a problem, you have to have somebody on that indie team. Has to be a marketing guy, a business guy who's not a developer. Yeah. I get it. I'm an engineer code. I fucking hate all of this. Everything I just said, I would not want to do. But I also can understand that if this is going to get me money and get my game that I've spent blood, sweat, and tears on,
it's my
then I'm going to fucking suck it up
Mm-hmm.
and fill this shit out. Because guess what? If I try to fill it out somewhere else, they're going to make me do the same thing. Maybe not Steam, but you're not going to get the coverage. You're not going to get the exclusivity, and probably not get as many downloads that pay, because Steam's probably giving out for like free-to-play prices that you are on Sony or an Xbox. And that's the also part. It's also or an Xbox. As Kotaku says, Microsoft has a similar payment structure. So it is bullshit to just berate Sony about this. It's just berate both of them. Like it's like, why do we have to say, like, I don't get the tripe train recently that Sony's getting shit on. It's like, Microsoft's just like, it's like, look at that guy doing shit. Look at that guy. And it's like, but you're doing the same thing. Yeah, but I told you, look at that guy. It's like, what the fuck are you talking? Like, you're both killing a guy. Like, it sucks for both. I agree. I wish indie game, it was free to get advertised and all that. It's not. But that $25,000 is $25,000 for marketing. That's what that is. Yeah. It's not 20. It's like, should it be 5? Sure. But who knows what are the numbers if you are the one that's July 1st on the, downloads, new release thing. What is the magnitude of download difference? Like, apparently it's $25,000 worth of ad revenue.
I bet.
And I would bet you probably make more on that. If you want to bitch, $25,000 is nice. Get more. Don't bitch about the $25,000. Bitch about the 30%. Get that number down. Because then you're gonna make the dividends, and that's awesome. Also, fucking suck it up. Write a blog, and if you can't, just get a marketer on your team or a business. You all have everybody. Even you have a friend.
Call us.
Who sucks
we'll have you as a guest.
We'll
have you as a guest on the podcast.
Yeah.
We'll do a little.
If you're an indie dev that's had this situation and like hates me now, or like thinks I'm not seeing something, that's fine. Let me know, because I know we actually have quite a few indie game developers that follow us.
Yeah.
Again, I'm very supportive of you, but if I'm not getting something and it's over my head, call it. We'll have you on. We'll talk about it, because I would love to hear your actual personal story of this, because I haven't released something in the Sony store. I haven't released something in the Xbox store. I've only done it in the App Store. So maybe it's like crazy. I just know these are things I would expect. And from working in the industry for 13 years now, 12 years now, it's kind of like, the number one thing when you come out of college as an engineer, I want to code. I don't want to do fucking paperwork. The worst thing about my job is like when you got to do paperwork. Everybody fucking hates it.
Yeah.
And this just seems like the guy's mad he has to do paperwork, and they had to pay an advertising fee. That is all I'm seeing. And it's a lot of money, and it sounds like a lot, but you're going to make a lot of money, and you have to invest in yourself. If you do not believe your game is going to make back $25,000, why are you making the game?
Yeah.
Is it just for you? Fine, release it on Steam. If it's not, you have to know this. And Sony does this. You could have called them and asked before making the game. It sucks. But I'm just saying, when you make a game for that, you have to know this is going to happen. And it does suck. I wish for you. I wish for the $5,000. It's not. Xbox is going to do the same fucking thing. So just accept it. And it's fine. It's like, all right. Or just come on and tell me I'm wrong and explain it to me. Because I don't get it. Because right now it just seems like someone doesn't want to fill out paperwork after coding all day. Which I get. But I would also just suck it up and get my game out there.
Amen.
I mean, this is, oh my God. But that was like, it was half I was mad about the Sony slander, because it's like, Forbes just cut it out.
Yeah.
I guess because they didn't get the 2 verified sources from Microsoft. But it's like, they're all doing this.
Yeah.
It's just fucking stupid. So anyways, that's what's happening there with my big. I seem to consistently get good rants that come out, and as soon as I saw this, I was like, "What are we even talk about today?" I was like, "Oh, dude, I can talk for 40 minutes. It's fine." Like it was like that's not even a question. I can rant, and I'm sure people are going to be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And it's like, whatever, fuck me. Hopefully, I said something in that is 60 seconds worth of a TikTok clip. Because my problem is my rants last 7 minutes.
I'm aware,
and I try to do those clips, and it's like, where's the 60-second where I get all of that information in? And it's like, whatever, dude. But I think
8 times speed, we'll get it.
I think I got it a couple times. I could double speed it. Maybe I will. But anyways, all right. So fuck this. Holy shit. What are we at now? It's like 1 billion to read. Also, let's go on a happy note. How about this? Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. We knew it was coming because we saw it got ESRB rated the other day. We didn't know it was official. It wasn't. They didn't officially claim. Then bang! This morning, PlayStation goes, it does exist. Here's the trailer. Also, it's on PlayStation Network right now. Go download.
Yeah.
Now there's things they're getting shit for, which it does seem like a lot, but it's if you want to upgrade the PS4 version to the director's cut, it's $20 to upgrade it. So PS4 to PS4, but to the DC, which is gonna have a bunch of new features.
Yeah.
And some like DLC stuff, or if you want PS5, like the PS4 to PS5 remake, because there hasn't been a full PS5 one, it's $30. It's like it has a little more extra stuff. Some people are like, what's the point of that? I'm like, what's the point of that? I mean, they did a lot of work, and it's kind of like when you upgrade to like the DLC battle pass, it's like you're getting the extra shit. So, but it looks fucking
that's
sick.
Also a price point for fans. That's not a price point for
right. It's not $60. Like that one, I would be like, that's fucking bullshit.
Oh no, I'm saying the other way, where it's like it's not going to be $5 because everyone that bought the original game isn't going to buy the director's cut. You see the same thing with like DVDs and shit, where it's like, oh, $20 for whatever, $30 for a director's cut.
They also didn't have to give you an upgrade option. They could have been like, you have to buy the director's cut.
Yeah.
Like the gold edition. How they released the Game of the Year edition?
Yeah.
That, they don't give you upgrades for that.
Yeah.
They're giving you upgrade. Why are you bitching? It has new trophies. It has full Japanese lip sync. PS5 has full haptic and adaptive feedback, which is going to be fucking awesome in those samurais fights.
That changes the game.
It includes the brand new Ike Island. There's a whole new island in this one, and you're bitching about 20. It's basically you're downloading DLC that's increasing the initial experience as well.
Yeah.
Why do you, it's awesome. And Jin's Journey is fucking sick. Like, it is one of the best games I've ever played. It's amazing. And this is another Sucker Punch, another great acquisition they did a while ago that's paying dividends on that. So, I mean, that's I know, but yeah, I do want to correct one thing. I think I actually can download August 20th. I just immediately pre-ordered it and just didn't look. I thought I was going to. So I will correct that.
Yeah.
It's August 20th. And for, again, haptic and adaptive feedback, Ike Island, and the lip sync of the original version in Japanese, which was lacking in the original. The PS5 will actually render the cinematics in real time. And yeah, so a lot of cool stuff. It also increases 3D audio and 4K and 60 frames per second in PS5. So to me, it's like, get this. It is in crazy exclusive. And if you didn't have it already, get it. If you have a PS5, fucking get it. If you have PS4, get it. I mean, just get it. I mean, anyway, so that's great. Let's go to trivia. I wanted to kind of end the rant on that. This is a Sony heavy episode, but I think I was pretty non-biased in a lot of my explanation of that because it's really. But long story short, love indie developers, and if you have a problem with us or love us or want to explore more information,
hop on. We'll talk
jump
about
on.
it.
I know a couple of you follow us, so let me now throw it in the DMs, and we'll just see what's good. All right, Sage, hit me with some trivia. Let's go.
Ooh, all right. So
it is like 100 degrees.
It is hot. It is hot. I feel like I look more red than usual. We also got a lot of sun last week, so there's a lot of factors. All right, so my trivia is going to be spells from Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, so I have a list of spells here.
0 of these.
You might. I have a list of spells. You just tell me if they are or are not real 5e spells.
Okay. I mean, you threw like 4, like version 4 and 1e and stuff in.
Maybe.
You said 5e. Okay.
Yeah. Also 5e just from the regular Dungeon Master.
Not the expansion. Yeah, I got
Yep, exactly. All right. Phantasmal Force.
Yes. Are you going to tell me?
I'll tell you at the end.
Okay.
Feign Death.
I don't know if that's a real spell, but you definitely can feign death, so I'll say yes.
Stone Shape.
No.
Meld into Stone.
Fuck. Feels like a whole stone-heavy situation here. Yes.
Anti-Magic Field.
No, that sounds ridiculous, which means it's probably true. But
Astral Projection.
yes.
Zone of Truth.
Yes.
Mordinkian's Magnificent Mansion.
I'm going to say yes, because it's so specific.
Conjure Woodling Beings.
No.
Earthquake.
Yes.
Hallucinatory Terrain.
No.
Arcane Eye.
Yes.
Magic Mouth.
That's what we call blowjob. Yes. Fuck it. Let's get it in there.
Mage Hand.
That's what we call a hand job with some Skittles on it. That's pop rock hand job right there. No. Give the old mage hand.
Eye Bite.
Oh, I hate that in a blowjob. This is now just like worked into the one joke. I can berate it. No.
Beast Sense.
Yes. How many more are there?
Water Walk.
Yes.
Stinking Cloud.
No.
Knock.
Yes.
Giant Insect.
Yes.
They were all spells from D&D.
Oh, wow.
So you got 7 wrong.
Yeah. That was a nice, okay. I'm sure people are yelling like, you fucking idiot now. Sorry. Talk to me after the pod. Give me a little mage hand. You know what I'm saying? Give me some of that magic mouth. All right. So mine is actually something I mentioned earlier. What are the platforms that House Marquee has delivered to? There's a few. Just name. I'm basically going to give you...
Like you want PlayStation?
Hold on. It's going to do it. Why is there so much written on this? Oh, my God.
Do you need one of my pages?
I got it. All right. You're going to have 10 seconds.
Okay.
Nope. Apparently Siri didn't think that would be enough time. Right. Set timer for 10 seconds.
Okay, 10 seconds.
All the platforms they developed for.
PlayStation, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One, PC, Steam, Nintendo.
Done. And then did Steam. Okay, so what I got was PlayStation 1, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, 360, Xbox One, Steam, Windows.
Yeah.
Okay.
I said Nintendo too, but it might have been late.
Nintendo was cut off. You didn't say PS2. You didn't say Xbox Series X or S.
Correct.
And Windows, I'll give it to you. But that's kind of an amalgamation of a shitload of operating systems.
You are correct.
So, 'Windows is correct. 360 correct. PS3 correct. PS4 correct. PS5 correct. PS1 incorrect. Xbox One incorrect. And that's so all the ones you said. And Microsoft Windows is correct. Steam is incorrect.
Okay.
So what you missed was PlayStation Vita, PlayStation Portable, Mac OS, Linux,
Oh.
Xbox the original, not Xbox One, which I knew you meant. I want to say one of these. I want to say both of these last, which is so annoying. MS DOS, which is not Microsoft Windows. So
You
that
did
was
say
interesting.
that. You did say we started with DOS.
Right. I was like, some of these I had, and the one which you had a 0% chance of guessing was Gizmondo.
Ah, Gizmondo. That was going to be my 87th guess.
The platform was Gizmondo. The publisher was Gizmondo. The game was called Gizmondo Motocross 2005. And
Was
if
it
you're
like
curious, it's a handheld
Okay.
gaming console from Tiger Telematics in like 2005. It sold fewer than 25,000 units. So not a ton. It was discontinued. It started March 19th, 2005. It was discontinued February 6th, 2006. So not even in a full year.
Okay.
But I was confident you want to get that. Got a few of them. But yeah, not bad. So it was a good 7 out of 12 there.
Yeah, it's like the ported Zelda Game & Watch thing.
Yeah.
Like you could play the original Zelda on its own standalone.
No, I remember. But
Okay.
but I just like Gizmondo.
Gizmondo.
What do you got? I got my old Gizmondo.
I think I'm going to name my firstborn kid Gizmondo. Hey, Gizzy, come here.
Gizmondo Parisi. Get here, Gizzy.
It has a nice...
It actually kind of does. Gizmondo Parisi. Someone's like, yo, that dude is like selling a ton of shit. And one, people would think he's Italian.
Yeah.
For some reason. It's like, you're French. He's like, no, I'm Italian. And it's like, Gizzy, get over it. He's either going to be like a butler who's like got a stick up his ass, or he's going to be stealing a ton of shit.
Yeah.
Those are your son's two options.
Let's
end on that.
I felt like billionaire app developer.
Gizmondo? No, because they'd be like, aren't you named after the failed handheld thing? You might hate people.
And that's
for
where
it.
he gets all his power.
He's like, I'm going to bring back the Gizmondo name. The good Gizmondo name.
Yeah.
Gizmondo Parisi.
He was named after failure, so he has to achieve success.
Yeah. He might just like murder you for that too, though.
Yeah.
That's like a coin flip.
I'm willing to give my life.
He might kill you, or he might be like a billionaire for it.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. And on that note, we love indie developers. Peace. Thanks for having another great episode. Glad you came pop. Follow us on YouTube, for the love of God. We're getting closer. Let's keep going. Keep coming at you with that hot content, and our TikToks keep getting at least 1,000 views. It's pretty dope.
Hell yes.
So we'll see you guys, and bye.
Deuces.